He was known as Brutus, not because it was his name, but because it fit him. A hulking, scar-faced German shepherd mix with a thick, matted coat and hollow, sunken eyes. His presence alone was enough to make people step back. He had arrived at the shelter in the back of an animal control van, sedated and snarling, after being found chained behind an abandoned warehouse in the outskirts of the city. The chain had cut deep into his neck, leaving raw, infected wounds. No one knew how long he had been there, only that he had survived far longer than anyone thought possible. From the moment he was brought in, Brutus made it clear no one was to come near. He growled, barked, lunged at the bars with such force it rattled the kennel walls. One staff member got too close and narrowly escaped a bite. Since then, everyone kept their distance. His cage was marked with a bright red warning sign. Danger, do not approach. Even the most experienced handlers walked past his kennel with wary glances. Yet behind the fury in his eyes, there was something else. Not malice, not hate. A flicker of something quiet and sorrowful. His gaze wasn't wild with rage. It was weighed down by something heavier. Pain. Deep, buried. Unspoken pain that no one could reach. Not yet. 7-year-old Lily had a softness about her. Not just in the way she spoke, but in the way she existed. She didn't race around the shelter like other kids did. She didn't shout or grab or startle the animals. Instead, she moved like a breeze, gentle, calm, and careful. Every Saturday, she came with her mom, who volunteered to walk the adoptable dogs. While her mother worked, Lily would sit near the kennels, reading books aloud or humming lullabies under her breath. Animals that normally cowered or barked to relax around her. Even the most anxious dogs would sit by the bars, drawn to her presence. The staff began calling her the Whisperer, marveling at how this quiet little girl seemed to speak the animals' language. But one rainy Saturday, Lily stopped in front of a kennel no one expected her to. Brutus, the most dangerous dog in the shelter. The air seemed to tighten. A volunteer quickly stepped forward, alarmed. "Not that one, sweetie," she said, gently touching Lily's shoulder. "He's not friendly." But Lily didn't step away. She didn't look scared. She tilted her head, studying the big, scarred dog curled in the shadows. Their eyes met, his cold and guarded, hers soft and searching. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "You're not mean. You're just hurt." And for a moment, the shelter fell utterly silent. As Lily took a slow, careful step toward the kennel, a low growl rumbled from deep within Brutus' chest, guttural, fierce, and unmistakably threatening. His lip curled back, revealing yellow teeth beneath his scarred snout. His eyes flashed, sharp and cold like shattered glass, warning her to stay back. The air turned tense. A volunteer gasped. Another leapt toward Lily, ready to snatch her away from danger. But before they could reach her, Lily stopped and knelt just outside the bars. Her tiny hands moved slowly, deliberately, slipping to the kennel just far enough to show she wasn't afraid, but not far enough to challenge him. "I'm not here to hurt you," she whispered, her voice trembling slightly but full of warmth. "You're safe now. I promise." The room froze, breaths held in anticipation. Brutus stood motionless, muscles tight and trembling. Then, in a sudden blur of movement, he lunged, his massive frame slamming forward. A cry rang out from the staff, but he didn't bite. He didn't growl again. Inches from Lily's hand, Brutus stopped. He stared at her, breathing heavy, confused and afraid. The rage in his eyes melted into something else, a flicker of sorrow. The growl faded, softening into a low, aching whimper. Slowly, without taking his eyes off her, Brutus backed away. He turned in his cage, curled up against the far wall, and lay down. From that day on, Lily returned to Brutus' kennel every weekend without fail. Rain or shine, she'd arrive with her small backpack full of storybooks, a juice box, and that same calm presence that made even the most anxious animals feel at ease. But she never rushed him. She didn't reach through the bars again or try to touch him. She simply sat cross-legged outside his kennel and read aloud. Fairy tales, animal adventures, stories of kindness and courage. Her voice, soft and melodic, drifted to the cold metal bars like sunlight in a dark room. Sometimes she hummed little lullabies, songs her father used to sing to her, her fingers tapping gently against the pages of her book. And slowly, Brutus changed. The staff began to notice it first in the silence. No more growls when people walked past. No more lunging. He still didn't let anyone near. But with Lily, he began to shift. One day he sat when she asked, ears alert, tail still. Another day, he scooted closer to bars, listening to her read. His fierce, stormy eyes softened, flicking between the book and her face. Where there was once fury, now there was curiosity. It's like she's unlocking him, one staff member whispered, watching from behind a corner. Like she sees the dog he used to be before the world broke him. And quietly, everyone began to hope. One quiet afternoon, while Lily sat beside Brutus' kennel reading softly, her mother approached the shelter director for a private conversation. They sat in the small break room, the hum of the vending machine, the only sound between them. Her mother's eyes were tired, her voice low but steady. There's something I think you should know, she began. Lily, she's not just here because she loves animals. A year ago, our home was broken into. Her father tried to protect us. He didn't make it. The director's face fell, the weight of her words sinking in like a stone. Since then, her mother continued, her voice cracking slightly. She barely speaks, barely plays. She used to sing and laugh. Now she only finds peace here, with the animals. They don't ask her questions. They don't expect her to be okay. They just exist with her. And that's enough. That revelation changed how everyone saw Lily and Brutus. The girl who whispered to animals wasn't just kind. She was broken, too. That's why she connected with Brutus. She didn't see a monster or a lost cause. She saw herself. The same haunted silence. The same wounds invisible to the eye. The same yearning to trust, but not knowing how. She wasn't just healing him with her stories and songs. In the stillness of that kennel, in the mirrored pain of those eyes, he was healing her, too. It happened so gradually, so quietly, that most people didn't notice at first. Brutus had stopped growling entirely when Lily came near. He began to anticipate her visits, sitting near the bars as soon as he heard her voice down the hallway. His ears perked up at the sound of her footsteps. His tail, once stiff and still, would give a hesitant wag. But no one was prepared for what happened one sunny Saturday morning. Lily walked in, her little backpack slung over one shoulder, and made her way to Brutus' kennel like she always did. She sat down, legs crossed, and pulled out her favorite book, the one she always saved just for him. As she flipped open the first page, Brutus rose from his bed at the back of the kennel. Slowly, deliberately, he padded toward the front. The room went still. Brutus reached the bars, stopped, and then, lifting one heavy paw, pressed it gently against the metal. Lily looked up, her eyes wide with wonder. She placed her small hand near the bars in response. Brutus leaned forward and, without hesitation, pressed the scarred head softly against her hand. No growl, no fear, just trust. Gasps rippled through the shelter. A volunteer near the counter dropped her pen, covering her mouth with both hands. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, "That doll, that girl, they're saving each other." And everyone in that moment knew it was true. It didn't take long after that unforgettable moment for everything to change. Brutus, once labeled untouchable, was reassessed by the shelter's behavioral team. This time, they approached with cautious optimism. To their astonishment, he didn't growl. He didn't retreat. Instead, he stood still and allowed the staff to clip a leash to his collar for the very first time. His body trembled slightly at first, but Lily's familiar voice soothed him from just outside the kennel. With her nearby, he took his first calm walk down the hallway. The dog who had once snarled at every passing stranger now walked gently beside a handler, glancing back toward the girl who had taught him to trust. Day by day, Brutus transformed. He stopped barking at visitors. He responded to commands. He even let a few staff members touch him without fear. The once feared monster had become a gentle protector, not just of Lily, but of every broken thing she reminded him of. So when adoption day came, there was no hesitation, no applications to review, no deliberations. The shelter director called Lily and her mom to the office, and with joyful tears, they signed the adoption papers. Brutus didn't need a new home. He had already found it, with the one person who looked past the growls, the scars, the silence, and saw someone worth saving. As they walked out together, Brutus stepped proudly through the shelter doors, head held high, tail wagging gently. He wasn't leaving the shelter. He was finally going home. Years passed, and the bond between Lily and Brutus only grew stronger. The once terrified girl and the once feral dog had become inseparable, two souls stitched back together by love and patience. As Lily grew older, her confidence returned. Her laughter, once hidden behind trauma, bloomed again, and Brutus, now calm and steady, became more than just her guardian. He became her partner in something greater. With training, patience, and support of those who had witnessed his transformation, Brutus became a certified therapy dog. It was hard to believe that the same dog who once snarled at the world now walked gently through hospital corridors and trauma centers. With Lily beside him, he brought comfort to others who bore invisible wounds, veterans with haunted eyes, children too afraid to speak, survivors of unspeakable things. Brutus would rest his massive head in their laps, his warm presence grounding them. People cried into his fur. They whispered secrets they hadn't told anyone else. And he never flinched. He just stayed, quiet, steady, safe. Lily, now a teenager, would sit beside him during visits, calm and composed. She didn't speak much, but when she did, it was always the same gentle whisper, the words that had changed both of their lives. She would kneel beside someone lost in pain, place Brutus' paw in their hand, and softly say, "You're safe now.